Alright, so this video is going to be a little bit different to my other videos. I'm going to be showing you what I did on my ROWDY montage with all the effects that I had. I'm basically just going to show you the base effects that I had on every single clip. I'm not going to show you like the effects that I had on kills and stuff like that. Just the effects I had on each clip that made it sort of, you know, the color correction and stuff like that. So let's get into it. The first thing I did when I put the clip in is I used Magic Bullet looks. So what I did here is in the looks, so to actually apply it, all you have to do is you have to get Magic Bullet. I'll leave links to all the effects that I used if they're plugins in the description. But you just want to come to Magic Bullet down here. You just want to drag on looks onto your clip, and then to actually use it, you just want to come down and click edit here on looks. Make sure you're on the clip though, because if you're not, it won't work. It might take a second to load, but then you'll come up with this interface. I only have 2 effects on at the moment for this, but sometimes I put more, sometimes I put less, you know. But I usually like to have chromatic aberration and edge softness. Those are the 2 effects that I mainly have when I use Magic Bullet. But if you want to see the exact values, this is the chromatic aberration right here, up here on the top right, and then this is what I did for the edge softness. To get the effects, you just want to come down to tools and just click that across, and you can drag stuff down onto here. But yeah, these are the 2 effects that I had, so edge softness, settings, and then chromatic aberration, and those are the settings. Alright, so that was Magic Bullet. So now you have that on, so you can just see the difference, like it's already looks a bit different. And then I have film damage, which is something that I use all the time. It's hard to notice unless the video is actually playing, but it basically just adds like specs and stuff. What I did to the film damage though is if I scroll down and show you, I turned off all of the effects other than the dust density, and I have the dust details as the dust color 1 and dust color 2, I have them as white. Everything else stayed the same. Dust density on 5, the dust color 1 and 2 on white, and everything else is the same. That's all I did for film damage. There'll be a link to Sapphire in the description if you want to get film damage. But anyway, let's move on to the next one. So the next one is flicker. Flicker is really common. You probably see it in most montages. You might not notice that it's there, but it's in the background, and it actually really helps a lot. It sort of gives it a little bit of a film effect, like a film flicker that you might have in like a dark place or something in like an actual cinematic sort of thing. But anyway, these are the settings that I used. I had the amplitude at 0.15, and then I had the wave amp at 0.5 and the wave frequency at 5, but I had the random frequency at 0. So it will look like this normally, and the random frequency will be at I think 40 or 30. So I just put it to 0, and then I went to the wave by clicking this down, and then I changed this to 0.5 and changed this to 5, and then remember to change this off as well, otherwise it'll look a bit dodgy. But that's all I did with flicker, not really much. So now let's go to film. This is another Magic Bullet thing, and this is the main thing that got the color correction. It is called, so it's Magic Bullet Film, and if I turn it on, you'll see what happened. So there you go. This is like the major difference in the color correction. It changed it completely. Basically, you just want to copy these settings if you want the same thing. All it is me just playing around with these right here, because there's so many different options. I just played around with them until I liked it. The strength is on 100. I put grain on 50%, and then saturation is on 100, everything else on 0. I think these are the defaults, but I was just playing around with this until I liked it, and I really like the look of this. So yeah, that's what that is, just Magic Bullet Film. There'll be a link to Magic Bullet in the description if you want to get it. Remember, most of the plugins that I use are paid, so I do advise paying for them and stuff. And if you want them, you obviously do have to pay. So you go down into the description, look at the links, and there'll be links to paid versions of them in the description. But the next thing that I used is shake. I used 2 shakes. I'll explain both of them. I'll explain the first one really quickly, because this one right here is just a shake that goes across the whole clip, and it's a Y shake. So I basically have the X rand off and the X wave off, but I have the Y rand off, but I have the Y wave amp on 1 and the Y wave frequency on 1, and then all the other amplitudes are off, so the Z amp and Z wave amp off, tilt rand and tilt wave off, and it's just the Y wave amp on 1 and the Y wave frequency on 1 as well, and then amplitude up here on 1, frequency on 10, and it sort of gives it like a little shake in between. But yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. You can just see it right there. It goes up and down quite quickly. But yeah, I just like this. I think it looks a little bit better. It gives the screen a little bit more movement because it's not usually like moving that much. And if you just give it a little bit more movement, it looks nicer. The next thing I used was BCC film grain. All I did with this was I added a white film grain, so it looks a little bit lighter. You can see it sort of increases the brightness a little bit, and it gives it a little bit of grain, which I think looks really nice. Just sort of brighter, and it's just got like a little, it looks like a splatter of film grain sort of thing. It looks quite nice. But yeah, that's all I did for that. The amount is 10. It's on monochromatic, and the blur quality is pyramid, and the film tint which is white, and the tint amount is 10. I think that's the main thing that makes sense. Okay, this second shake is probably is a little bit harder to explain, but basically what I use it for is for a transition. So I have this exact shake, this S shake 2, which is the second shake I put on. I have it at the start of every single clip, and what it does is it just introduces the clip. So basically you can see that there's like quite a heavy shake at the start of the clip, and then it goes into the lighter shake. It's literally just the first shake, but keyframed with a higher amplitude that then goes down to 0, and then the first shake up here takes over. So it's basically just a stronger version of the first shake that only goes at the start of the clip to sort of give a little bit of impact on the transitions. So I'll show you what it looks like. So there you can see it sort of goes really quick and then slow again. It just sort of gives a little bit of impact on the start of every clip. It's on literally every single clip, and it's just, you know, for impact. So I'll show you the keyframes. So to look at keyframes, you just want to click on the clip. So mine's at the bottom, and click U. And then I'm going to go down, I'm going to show you the keyframes. So it starts at 2, and then goes all the way down to 0. And I'll show you how many frames it is. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 frames, and it goes from the amplitude of 2 to the amplitude of 0, but just copy the rest of the settings from the first shake that I showed you. And that's exactly what I did. Now obviously there's RSMB. These are the settings that I used for the RSMB. I didn't put much on because it was getting quite weird. A lot of things were distorting, so I made it really light. I don't know how noticeable it was, but I thought I might as well put RSMB on instead of not put RSMB on. But that's not really important. You're obviously going to change the settings for that. You might record in 60 FPS. There's probably no point of, or you might render in 60 FPS. So there might be no point of RSMB. But anyway, that's all I wanted to show you for that. Now I'm going to show you another thing that I have, which is the transitions. So the transition was roughly the same each time. It was gamma and lens blur. So Sapphire and BCC, there'll be links to both those in the description, as I've already said. S-gamma, BCC, lens blur. So again, I'm going to press U while on the adjustment layer, and I'm going to show you the transition. Okay, so with the adjustment layer, all I did was I had it so it goes from the end of one clip and then goes all the way through the start of another clip. It goes quite far across the other clip. I like to have it so that the transition is quite light on the first clip, but then goes quite long on the second clip. I do that quite a lot with transitions. But basically, all it is it's gamma and lens blur. But what I've done is I've had the gamma so it goes yellow. And to make the gamma go yellow, you just want to have the gamma blue, but then decrease the gamma blue. So I've put it to 0.8. So what happens, it starts at 1. The gamma and the gamma blue start at 1. And then if we just go 5 frames ahead, so after 5 frames, the gamma goes to 1.2 and the gamma blue goes to 0.8, and it gives a sort of yellow transition. And then we just go, I think it was 17 frames afterwards. And then after 17 frames, everything just goes back to normal again. So gamma goes to 1, gamma blue goes to 1, and the iris scale goes to 0. But as you can see, the gamma blue frames are Beziered, so I'll just show you what that looks like. My Bezier just looks like this. I think this is the default. I just wanted it to stay for a little bit longer. I think actually, no, I actually increased this one. So what I did is I increased this because I wanted the yellow to stay for a little bit longer. And this was basically just so that the clip looked a little bit yellower just as we go along. But yeah, that's basically what I did for that. That's all I really wanted to say. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.